Ancient texts speak of 7 seals that hold back the end of the world. They are silent about only one thing, that the first seal was not broken, it was sacrificed.
You were my first sacrifice, even before I was born.
A darknet recording of a 3-year-old's dream appears. On it, he names strangers. Hours later, each one dies. When the police delete the file, someone saves a copy. At the very end of the recording, the child whispers quietly, "Mom, if you can hear this, you have 6 hours left." At that moment, the surveillance camera in my bedroom moves. Aaliyah's breath catches, a tiny broken sound swallowed by the cavernous silence of the penthouse. She stands frozen beside the glass wall, her reflection ghosted over the endless sprawl of Seoul below. Even in the dim light, her long violet braid burns like a living ember against the sterile monochrome of the room, a defiant streak of color in a world built from steel, marble, and blood. Jaewon once said her hair looked like a wound in reality itself, beautiful, impossible, and dangerous. She had laughed then. Now it feels like an omen. The camera lens swivels with a soft, predatory whir, its red light a single unblinking eye in the curated darkness. It is not watching the room. It is watching her. This is not a story she is consuming online. It is a cage she is living inside. Her heart slams against her ribs, a frantic bird trapped beneath bone. 6 hours. The words do not echo from the recording. They bloom directly inside her skull, a cold premonition sinking into her gut. Slowly, she turns, every muscle screaming, toward the handcrafted wooden crib that stands like an altar at the center of the room. Inside, her son, Teo, sleeps. His face is a flawless sculpture of porcelain and moonlight, an impossible fusion of her sharp African features and Jaehwan's aristocratic severity. His lashes cast delicate shadows on his cheeks. His lips are parted in the soft rhythm of breath. He looks like peace. He is the heir to an invisible empire, the anchor of a criminal dynasty, and the most dangerous weapon in Seoul. For months, this has been their hidden rhythm. A restless night, a whispered name drifting from Teo's lips. And by morning, another one of Jaehwan's problems dissolves into silence. A rival in Bizen, a politician in Tokyo, a traitor within their own walls. Death delivered with the innocence of a lullaby. Jaehwan calls it a gift from the ancestors, a divine inheritance. He looks at their son with reverence bordering on worship, seeing not a child, but a holy instrument of dominion. When he stands behind Aaliyah, fingers idly tracing the length of her violet braid, he tells her that her wild hair and their son's curse are proof that heaven itself bent to create their family. Aaliyah sees something else. She sees the bill coming due. With every whispered name, the intricate spiral-shaped brand of the goddess Yamoya on her right shoulder blade ignites, burning hotter, the scar tissue tightening as if trying to tear itself free from her skin. 2 years ago, in salt-choked darkness and blood-warm seawater, she had begged the ocean for Jaehwan's life. She had offered anything, everything. Now the debt is collecting interest. A faint, dark, thread-like vein has emerged beneath the brand, a stain beneath her skin, thin as a spider's leg. After the first death, it had been only a smudge. Now it coils downward, mapping her spine in creeping black geometry, a living ledger of sins. She knows, with a certainty that hollows her chest, that when it reaches her heart, the debt will be paid in full. If this story is already tightening around your lungs, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. You are about to enter a world where nightmares are not metaphors, and no one survives them alone. Aaliyah steps away from the window. Her braid swings heavily against her back, the weight of it grounding her, reminding her that she still exists, still occupies flesh. The penthouse is a monument to wealth. Filtered air, chilled marble, silent elevators, panoramic glass. It smells of nothing. It feels like nowhere, a palace designed to erase humanity. She moves toward the crib, each step careful, deliberate. Her shadow spills across Teo's sleeping form. His tiny chest rises and falls in perfect rhythm. She wants to touch him. She is terrified too. Her fingers hover a breath above his cheek. She is afraid of the power coiled beneath his fragile skin. Afraid the curse will recognize its origin in her. Afraid that the bond between them is not maternal, but sacrificial. The air ripples beside her, salt, ancient river mud. The crushing pressure of abyssal depths. Yamoya arrives without sound. The Orisha does not speak. She unfurls visions directly into Aaliyah's mind. The first path is power. Aaliyah sees herself beside Jae-hwan, her violet braid now streaked with silver, the dark vein transformed into a luminous, terrifying pattern covering her body. Teo sits upon a throne carved from bone and gold, whispering names that collapse governments and sink fleets. The world kneels. She is untouchable. A queen forged from love and annihilation. The second path is love. She sees herself wrapped in Jae-hwan's arms, their empire intact, but the curse feeds inward. Teo's body is frail, translucent. His laughter fades into coughs. His soul is slowly consumed to fuel the magic shielding his father. Happiness bought with the life of her child. The third path is the future. A broken vision. Fire. Betrayal. Flight. She sees herself turning the curse against Jae-hwan's empire, becoming its executioner. She sees herself hunted, bleeding, carrying the son who no longer recognizes her. To save him, she must annihilate everything that defines him. Power, love, or his future. What choice does a mother have? The goddess offers no comfort, only consequence. Aaliyah stumbles back, clutching her braid like a lifeline. There has to be another way. In the bathroom, she lights sandalwood and a single white candle. She whispers prayers not to gods, but to her ancestors, to the women whose blood shaped her spine. She begs for protection, for defiance, for a shield against divinity itself. She closes her eyes. For one fragile heartbeat, peace blooms. Then a scream splits the night. Aaliyah spins, racing back into the bedroom. Teo is rigid in the crib, body arched, tiny fists clenched, mouth stretched wide in agony. A black vein pulses along his arm, a mirror of her own, glowing with sickening dark light. Her prayer didn't protect him. It trapped the curse inside him. His eyes snap open. They are no longer the soft brown eyes of her child. They are ancient, silver, bottomless, and for the first time they look through her, not at her. The choice is no longer theoretical. It is screaming in front of her. And the clock has begun its final descent. Chapter 2. My son began to speak with the voice of a woman who died 20 years ago. He knew her fears, her secrets, her murderer. When I asked where her body was, he looked me straight in the eye and said, "Mom, it's still growing inside me." And under his skin, a black vein slowly swelled. The voice is not a child's imitation. It is a perfect, chilling replica, thin, sharp, and laced with a venom that has outlasted the grave. It is the voice of Minso, Jae-hwan's first wife, a woman whose portrait hangs in a forgotten corridor, her porcelain beauty frozen in time. Aaliyah stands paralyzed by the crib, the sound scraping against her nerves like nails on slate. The tiny, perfect mouth of her son moves, but the words belong to a ghost. "He told me he loved me," the voice says, a dry, sarcastic whisper that fills the sterile air of the room. "He said my ambition was a fire that warmed him. But a king cannot have two suns in his sky." The words are a direct quote from a letter Minso wrote to her sister, a letter Jae-hwan had claimed was destroyed. Aaliyah feels the blood drain from her face. This is not just a haunting, it is an accusation. The curse is not just a debt to a goddess. It is a vessel for a dead woman's rage. She watches the ugly thread-like vein on Teo's arm pulse in time with the spectral words. It is darker now, thicker, a living thing feeding on her child from the inside. Her days become a frantic, secret spiral of desperation. She dismisses the staff, citing a need for privacy. The gilded cage becomes a laboratory. She burns sage until the smoke detectors scream, the cleansing smoke doing nothing to dispel the cold presence that lingers in the corners of the nursery. She lines the windowsills and doorways with salt, but the whispers only grow louder, twisting into insults, threats, promises of what the curse will do to her once it is done with the boy. She calls a doctor, a man whose silence has been purchased by Jae-hwan a dozen times over. He runs every test, his brow furrowed with confusion. The boy is physically perfect. There's no explanation for the strange discoloration on his arm, no reason for the bouts of intense, screaming pain. As the doctor leaves, shaking his head, Minso's voice issues from the crib, loud enough for him to hear. Tell him to check the foundations of the West Wing. The doctor freezes, his face paling, and flees without another word. Aaliyah knows the stories. Minso fell from a balcony in the West Wing during its construction. An accident, a tragic loss. But the voice, the vein, the cold certainty in Aaliyah's soul, they all scream a different word: murder. The visions intensify. They are no longer fleeting images but immersive, waking nightmares. One afternoon, while feeding Teo, the room dissolves. She is standing in another nursery, this one filled with soft pinks and whites. A little girl with her father's eyes is laughing, reaching for a toy. Aaliyah recognizes her instantly, the daughter of Park Min-jun, Jae-hwan's most loyal and trusted lieutenant. A shadow falls over the laughing child. Aaliyah feels a suffocating cold, the same cold that radiates from her own son. The girl's laughter turns into a choked gasp, her face twisting in pain, her skin turning a deathly gray. The curse is hungry, Aaliyah realizes. It is a predator. If she refuses to aim it, it will simply hunt for itself, feeding on the nearest source of life and innocence. It is showing her the consequences of her inaction. It is a threat, a promise. Meanwhile, the ripples of the curse's power spread through the underworld. Jae-hwan's silent, impossible victories have not gone unnoticed. The other syndicate families, the Yakuza from Japan, the triads from Hong Kong, see a disruption in the delicate balance of power. They see a king who no longer plays by the rules, who wields a power they cannot comprehend or counter. They request a meeting. Jae-hwan agrees. Aaliyah is not invited, but she watches on the security feeds, a ghost in her own home. She sees them all, seated around a black granite table in a room built to withstand a missile strike. Cold, hard men who trade in death. They do not speak of curses or magic. They speak of instability, of unacceptable risks. Then, the Yakuza Oyabun, a man with a face like a weathered mask, says the words that stop Aaliyah's heart. The problem is not the power, Ji-won. The problem is its source, the foreign woman. She is the variable. Remove her and restore the balance. They are offering him a choice, his empire or his family. They are asking him to sacrifice his queen. Jae-hwan's face is stone. He shows nothing. He gives no answer. He simply ends the meeting, the screen going black, leaving Aaliyah in the suffocating silence. He does not come to their bedroom that night. The absence is an answer louder than any words. He is considering it. The king is weighing his board, and she is now a pawn that can be sacrificed. Alone in the dark, she looks at the sleeping form of her son. The greatest love of her life has abandoned her. The child she would die for is a vessel for a monster. She has never been more powerful, and she has never been more alone. A soft sound makes her turn. Teo is awake, looking at her. His eyes are his own now, clear and innocent. He reaches a tiny hand toward her. But when he speaks, the voice is Minso's, and it delivers the final devastating blow. It is a whisper meant only for her. He will choose the crown. He always does. And when he leaves you with nothing, I will be waiting. Chapter 3. The goddess said, "You can save your son. Or you can save humanity." I asked what would happen if I chose my son. She smiled. "Then every one of his smiles will cost 1,000 lives." In that second, the child looked at me for the first time like I was a stranger. Ji-Wan's absence is a physical presence in the penthouse, a cold void that sucks all the warmth from the air. He does not come to her. He does not call. He sends guards, silent men in tailored suits who stand outside her door, their purpose ambiguous. Are they protecting her, or are they containing her? Aaliyah knows the answer. She is a queen in check, isolated on the board. The desperation that has been simmering within her now boils over into a terrifying resolve. If the gods will not help her, if the man she loves is weighing her life against his crown, then she will turn to the only thing she has left, the curse itself. She waits until the deepest point of the night, when the city below is a glittering tapestry of sleeping souls. She enters the nursery, the air still thick with the lingering chill of Minso's presence. Teo is asleep, his breathing shallow. The black vein on his arm is a stark, ugly river against his pale skin. Aaliyah kneels beside the crib, not in prayer, but in confrontation. She closes her eyes and does not push the curse away. She invites it in. She opens the floodgates of her mind, following the current of dark energy back to its source. The journey is a violent torrent of images and sensations. She feels the cold ambition of Jaehwan, the bitter jealousy of Minso, the ancient indifferent power of Yamoya. But behind it all, she finds a shocking, horrifying truth. The curse is no longer just a debt or a ghost. It has changed. Her sacrifice 2 years ago, the raw power of her love and her life force freely given, did not just pay a debt. It planted a seed. Her blood, mixed with the ancient magic and Jaehwan's ruthless ambition, has created something new. A living, evolving entity, a parasite of the bloodline. It is not possessing her son. It is symbiotic with him. He is not its puppet. He is its prophet. It is not seeking vengeance for Minso or payment for Yamoya. It is building an empire of its own, a dynasty of fear, with her as its matriarch and her son as its heir. The realization is a physical blow, knocking the air from her lungs. She is not a victim of a curse. She is its source, its mother. For a single dizzying moment, the horror is replaced by a surge of absolute power, a terrifying, exhilarating hope. If she is its source, if it is born of her blood, then it must answer to her. She is not its slave. She is its queen. The thought is intoxicating. The power that has been a source of terror now feels like a weapon in her hand. She can aim it. She can control it. She can protect her son not by fighting it, but by wielding it. Her rage, a lifetime of being underestimated, of being a beautiful object in a powerful man's world, now focuses to a single burning point. She thinks of the Yakuza Oyaban, the man who dared to call her a variable, the man who told her husband to discard her. She reaches out with her mind, not with hate, but with the cold, precise command of a sovereign. She pictures him in his high-rise office in Tokyo, surrounded by his guards, completely safe. She focuses on the blood in his veins, blood that is now her subject. And she gives a single silent order. Stop. Miles away, in a room of glass and steel overlooking the glittering lights of Tokyo, the Oyaban is laughing at a joke. He raises a glass of expensive whiskey to his lips, then he stops. His eyes widen in confusion, then in terror. His hand freezes. He makes a soft gurgling sound. His guards watch, confused, as their invincible leader claws at his own throat, his face turning a deep, horrifying shade of purple. He collapses, his body convulsing on the priceless rug, dead before he hits the floor. In the penthouse, Aaliyah opens her eyes, gasping. She feels the death, a distant tremor in the web of power she now commands. She has done it. She has protected her family. She has struck back, but the triumph is short-lived. An alarm blares through the penthouse. On a large screen on the wall, a security feed automatically switches on. It shows Jae-hwan in his control room, watching a live video from the Oyabun's office. He sees the chaos. He sees the man die. And then, he looks directly into the camera in his own room, a camera he knows is connected to the screen in hers. The look on his face is not one of relief or gratitude. It is one of pure, undiluted terror. He is not looking at the woman he loves. He is looking at a monster who has just declared war on his most powerful allies. He is looking at a rival for his throne. In that moment, Aaliyah understands the true nature of the trap. The curse gave her the power to protect her family, but the very act of using it has destroyed it. She has proven herself to be exactly what their enemies claimed she was, an uncontrollable threat. The chasm between her and Jae-hwan is now no longer a crack, it is a canyon. From the crib, a soft, cold whisper cuts through the sound of the alarm. It is Min-so's voice, dripping with triumph. Now he sees the real you. The monster he created. Aaliyah is trapped. She is the queen of an unstoppable power, and she is utterly, completely alone. Chapter 4. In the world, cities began to switch off at the same time. Planes fell without a distress signal. People had the same dreams. And my son stood on water and whispered, "The seventh night has begun," I realized. In a few hours, the world would no longer belong to humans. The aftermath of the Oyabun's death is a suffocating, absolute silence. Jae-hwan does not come. He sends no messages. The only change is the addition of 4 more guards, their faces impassive granite, their presence turning her opulent wing of the penthouse into a hermetically sealed prison. She is a strategic asset and an existential threat, a queen on the chessboard who has suddenly gained the power to burn the board, the players, and the entire room. The silence stretches from 1 day into 3, a thick, heavy blanket of dread. In this isolation, Aaliyah's mind becomes a battlefield. The curse, sensing her fear and Jae-hwan's rejection, presses its advantage. Min-so's voice is no longer just a whisper from the crib. It is a constant, insidious presence in her own thoughts, a venomous internal monologue. It shows her visions. Jae-hwan meeting with the remaining, terrified syndicate leaders, their faces pale with fear and avarice. It twists his silence into confirmation of her betrayal, painting him as a weak king ready to sacrifice her to appease his new fragile coalition. "He is choosing his crown over you, little bird," the voice mocks. "He will let them cut your wings, and he will tell himself it was a necessary sacrifice. Strike now, erase them all. Show him what real power is." Aaliyah paces the length of her prison, the plush carpet wearing thin under the torment of her footsteps. Every instinct screams at her to unleash the storm again, to eradicate the threats, to burn away the fear and betrayal with the righteous fire she now commands. But she sees the trap. Each time she uses this power born of rage and fear, the black vein on her back creeps further, a hungry vine seeking her heart. The power does not serve her. It consumes her. She realizes with a chilling certainty that the curse doesn't want her to win. It wants her to fight. It feeds on the struggle, on her love, her hate, her despair. To defeat it, she cannot fight fire with fire. She must starve the fire of its oxygen. She must find a way to feel nothing at all. This revelation is not a moment of hope. It is a sentence of self-execution. The only thing more powerful than her fear of the curse is her love for Jae-hwan, the very thing that created this monster. That love is its primary fuel source. To save her son, to save herself, she must perform the ultimate act of desecration. She must meticulously, deliberately murder her own heart. The ritual begins on the 4th night of her confinement. There is no altar, no incense. Only the cold, silent judgment of the city lights outside her sealed window. She sits on the floor of the nursery, a statue of resolve, while Teo sleeps in his crib, oblivious to the act of spiritual suicide his mother is about to commit for him. She closes her eyes and plunges into the sacred gallery of her memories, not to cherish them, but to burn them. She begins with the first thread of their connection, the night market in Insadong. She summons the memory in perfect, painful detail, the smell of tteokbokki and sizzling meat, the press of the crowd, the overwhelming feeling of being an outsider. And then, Jae-hwan's hand finding hers. Not the possessive grip of a mafia boss, but a quiet, searching touch, a silent question. She feels the warmth of his skin, the electric shock that jolted her soul. She holds the memory, a perfect, glowing pearl, and then she willfully pours her emptiness into it. She watches the warmth turn to ice, the colors fade to gray, the memory turning into a dead historical fact, devoid of all emotion. A piece of her goes cold. Next, she summons a memory of his vulnerability. A rainy night, months later, when a rival clan had nearly killed him. He had come to her not as a king, but as a man, bleeding and exhausted. He had confessed a childhood fear, a moment of weakness he had never told another living soul. It was the moment she knew she loved him, his trust a heavier chain than any diamond he could give her. She takes this sacred confession, this fragile gift, and exposes it to the void she is creating within herself. She clinically dissects the trust, analyzes the fear, and strips the moment of its power until it is nothing more than a discarded file. The cold spreads, a creeping frost covering the landscape of her soul. She moves through her memories with the grim efficiency of an assassin. The first time he laughed, a rare, unguarded sound that felt like the sun breaking through clouds. The quiet mornings spent in silence, a comfortable intimacy that needed no words. The fierce, possessive look in his eyes that made her feel like the center of the universe. She takes each one, a treasure she once polished daily, and grinds it to dust. Finally, she arrives at the heart of it all. The birth of Teo. She forces herself to relive it. The hours of agony, the fear that she would break, and then, the moment he was placed in her arms. She feels the overwhelming, primal surge of love, a force of nature that remade her entire being. She sees Jae-hwan, his icy composure shattered, looking at his son, and then at her, his eyes raw with an emotion so fierce it was terrifying. He was not a king in that moment, he was a husband. A father. It is the memory that anchors her entire existence. With a final silent scream that echoes only in the ruins of her soul, she offers it to the curse. She feels a tectonic shift within her, a fundamental part of her identity shearing off and falling into the abyss. The pain is so absolute, so profound, that it transcends feeling. There's only a vast silent emptiness. When she is done, she is a hollowed-out cathedral, beautiful on the outside, but devoid of all light and warmth within. The burning on her back is gone. The frantic pulse of her heart is now a slow, metronomic beat. She opens her eyes. The world is the same, but its colors are muted. Jae-hwan is no longer the love of her life. He is a strategic component in her son's survival. Her son is not her heart's joy, he is the objective. And the curse is no longer a raging parasite. Gorged on the sacrifice of a love that could move mountains, it is sated. It is a sleek, perfect, silent weapon, humming with unimaginable power, and it is utterly, completely hers. With the cold, detached clarity of a supernova, she passes judgment. She thinks of the Syndicate Alliance, the web of power and violence that threatens her objective. She feels no anger, no fear, no righteousness. She feels nothing. She simply issues a command. It is a silent, invisible apocalypse. A triad dragon head in Hong Kong, surrounded by 100 loyal men, falls face first into his bowl of shark fin soup, his heart instantly still. A Bratva kingpin in a sweltering Moscow banya, boasting of his plans, suddenly goes rigid and boils from the inside out. In a fortified hacienda in Sinaloa, a feared cartel leader looks at his reflection and screams as it climbs out of the mirror and strangles him. From Sicily to Seoul, from the favelas of Rio to the penthouses of New York, the entire global architecture of organized crime is decapitated in a single, synchronized, bloodless instant. The world is thrown into chaos, and Jae-hwan's empire is the only one left standing. This time he comes. The doors to her wings slide open. He stands there, his face a mask of awe, disbelief, and a deep primal terror. He looks at her, searching for the woman he loved, the woman he was prepared to sacrifice. He finds only a stranger. Her eyes, once a blazing fire, are now as calm and as cold as the void between stars. She has won the war for him. She has made him the undisputed king of the world. And in doing so, she has placed an unbridgeable galaxy between them. He has his crown, and he has lost his queen forever. That night, a strange stillness settles over the penthouse. The world outside is in flames, but inside, there is an eerie, tomb-like peace. Aaliyah does not sleep. She sits in a chair in the nursery, a silent sentinel watching her objective. A flicker of movement from the patio doors catches her eye. A cold breeze, smelling of chlorine and ozone, snakes into the room. She rises, every sense on high alert. The 2 guards stationed at the nursery door are gone. She moves silently through the darkened penthouse, a predator in her own home. The path leads her to the grand indoor pool, its surface a placid moonlit mirror. And what she sees stops her cold heart. The bodies of a dozen of Jae-hwan's elite guards float gently in the water, their eyes open and vacant, their weapons still holstered. In the center of the pool, his small feet resting on the surface of the water as if it were solid glass, stands Teo. He is not looking at the bodies. He is looking up at the moon, his head tilted as if listening to a conversation she cannot hear. Then he turns. He looks directly at her, his small face devoid of any childish warmth. When he speaks, the voice is not his, nor is it Minso's. It is an ancient, resonant chorus of 1,000 voices speaking as one, a sound that scrapes at the foundations of reality. "Mama," the voice intones, the word a mockery of their bond. "You were my first victim, even before I was born." He takes a step toward her, walking on the water as if on pavement. He raises a small, perfect hand and gently touches his fingers to her forehead. "Your love was the womb. Your sacrifice was the door." Her vision tunnels. The world fractures into a kaleidoscope of screaming faces and dying stars. The last thing she sees is his eyes, no longer human, but twin black holes, pulling her in. The screen goes dark. A child's whisper, clear and cold, echoes in the absolute blackness. The 7th night has begun. The board is cleared. A new player has taken control. If you want to witness the dawn of this new age, if you dare to see what happens when the world no longer belongs to humans, then subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Let us know in the comments who or what you believe Teo has become. Share this story with your friends, because on the 7th night, no one should have to face the darkness alone.